Hi, welcome to Reddit Tea Time. I'm not from the US, so I might have some grammatical errors. So my dad left my mom and I when I was only 5 years old. I also have an older brother. He left the country with his mistress and never tried to contact us. We were really poor. My mom had to do some immoral stuff to get food on the table. She was a stripper and also sometimes pleased men to get money for us. She put me and my brother through school. I understand why my mom did what she did because we had no money and she wanted us to have a life better than ours. I'm not ashamed because of it. I also started working part-time when I was 14. I was a good student, so I got a scholarship to a good university. My mom eventually stopped stripping when my brother got a part-time job too. She now only works as a waitress. I met my fiance Javi in college. This was my first serious relationship. We both loved each other. I never told Javi about my mom's past because my mom made me promise to never say anything to anyone. I kept that, but it felt so wrong to keep this huge information away from my fiancé. Javi knew about us. He only knew that my family was extremely poor. He doesn't care about that. He's a very sweet guy who always takes care of me. He even covered some of the cost of my brother's education as well, even though I told him not to. My mom also likes him. That's why she told me not to tell Javi anything about her past or what she did for a living. So, a week ago, my mom and I went to Javi's house to meet his parents. I didn't realize his uncle and aunt would also be there. Upon seeing his uncle, my mom's face went white as if she saw a ghost. His uncle also kept staring at my mom as if he knows her. My mom felt uncomfortable and said that she wants to go home. Javi was confused by it, but nonetheless, we left earlier than we anticipated. The next day, my fiancé came to our place and shouted at me that I lied to him. He said that I'm a gold digger, just like my mother, and my mother is the reason why his uncle's first marriage broke. I asked him to explain what the hell he's talking about. He said that his uncle knew my mom because he was a regular customer of her and often hired her for her services. His wife caught them red-handed and immediately filed for divorce. My mom was crying and said she didn't know he was married. She never asks men about their marital status. I told him that he has no right to speak to my mom like that, and his uncle was fully to blame because he was a married man who was hiring escorts for himself. My mom has no obligation towards his marriage. Javi still blamed me and my mom and said he felt deceived. He said to my face that he doesn't want to date a whore's daughter because I will probably invite men just like my mom. My mom had to beg him not to break the engagement. I'm tired. If I do end up marrying him, my mom would always have to suffer because of it. I don't want that, so I gave him back his engagement ring and told him to never show his face. My mom's angry because she thinks this is my only chance to get married because no other guy would marry into a family where the mom works as a sex worker. But I think I did the right thing because I'm not ashamed of my mom. I didn't even want to hide it in the first place. I wanted to tell him the truth, but my mom refused. So am I the bonehead? Edit. I need to clear things up a bit. Javi knows everything about my life. He knows my dad fled the country and we had to live in poverty because of it. He knows my mom got pregnant way too young. I did give him hints that my mom had to do shady things to get by. He probably thought my mom stole things, but I didn't disclose that she was a sex worker. I wanted to tell him, but my mom said not to because she doesn't want this to escalate. Also, I never asked Javi to pay for my brother's education. He did it from the goodness of his heart. I did promise to pay him back. I'm not after his money. I do love him a lot. Even though we're broken up now, I still miss him. We've been together for 6 years. It's not easy to throw away those 6 years just like that. Now for some comments before the update. Oh, so you're to be a whore because of your mom. But doesn't that mean he's probably going to use escorts regularly? It runs in his family to be unfaithful according to his logic. Not the bonehead, but boy, your ex sure is. You dodged a bullet by getting rid of him. You'll find the right person for you. Give your mom a hug and be happy you aren't marrying into that awful family. Wow, your ex is a major butthole. Such a big butthole that I'm sure he oozes poop everywhere from how huge his butthole is. Also, not the bonehead. OP, I send a big hug to you and your mom. Also, happy late Mother's Day to your mama. I'm gonna need someone to explain to me how the mother broke up the marriage when he was the one hiring her behind his wife's back. I don't get it. If a man on a diet walks into a donut shop and orders a dozen donuts, who broke the diet? The man or the donut seller. His uncle went to her. His uncle who knew about his wife. His uncle also outed her to your fiance who was too thick in the head to stop and say, wait, why does uncle know that? Not the butthole. You'll find someone who understands and will appreciate the sacrifice your mother made to keep you and your brother alive. And now for the update. Hi everyone, I wanted to say thank you so much for your support. I never thought I would get so much support from strangers than people from my own community. I was, however, expecting a lot of hate towards my mom considering her profession, but it's less than what I expected. I don't know if this qualifies as a proper update, but there have been a few changes. After I broke my engagement, I've been getting calls from my friends and Javi's family that I'm making a huge mistake. My close friends know that my mom used to be a sex worker, but mutual friends of mine and Javi don't know about it. So they're also questioning me if I ever did that. Javi did apologize. He said he got carried away by his emotions and he loves me. Not gonna lie, I love him too. I wanted to get past all of this. I know people have told me that I shouldn't get married to this guy, but I was weak for a moment until he told me that he was willing to let things go and start anew if my mom does not attend any wedding functions. I was shocked. Weddings are a big deal in our culture. There are many functions and parties surrounding the wedding. How can he ask that I don't involve my mom? He told me that because of my mom's past, it would be difficult for his family members to be around her. He convinced his mom with difficulty about this engagement. Also, since his uncle is going to be there, it will only remind him of bad things. At that moment, I realized that I was never a consideration. It was always him and making his family happy. My family is beneath them because we're not from a respectable background and come from homes of sex workers. I stood firm and told him no, it's not going to happen. I won't give in to his demands because the way I see it, my mom didn't do anything wrong. It's funny how quickly people will judge a woman based on the work she has to do to feed her kids, but no one will come forward to help her in her time of need. Javi threatened that I'm making a huge mistake by letting him go. I just left. I don't have the energy to deal with it. I think this news is spreading like wildfire now. I may have to move out of the city because if this news reaches to my workplace, I know damn well people will ostracize me. So I might look for a job in a different area. Lastly, I messaged him saying I'm sorry for not telling him earlier about my mom, but I loved him a lot. I'm sad that he chose this topic to ruin a 6-year relationship. I'll be going to the bank and paying back the money he paid for my brother's education. I'm still crying and jilted to say the least. Also, I saw that my post was shared in different religious groups bashing my mom, saying that I deserved it. Well, let me tell you religious fanatics that most men who claim to be religious are not at all. My mom had many clients who claimed to be religious, including pastors and preachers. So please, before blaming my mom, look inside your house and your family. You might find chameleons hiding within your family too. Edit. People who are asking me why I'm paying him back, it's because I don't want him to use it as an excuse to call me a gold digger who used him for his money. I don't want to be in his debt. And now for a few more comments. It's funny how men can chastise a woman for doing something that they're the ones paying her to do. So why is his uncle allowed to be there? He cheated on his marriage and he gets off scot-free, but your mom is a villain? Make it make sense. You and your mother are worth $1 million of him. Good, because you can guarantee the exclusion of your mom wouldn't stop with just the wedding. And I wish terrible energy to those religious asshats who would rather you and your mom be homeless and starve to death for the sake of virtue. My wife and I have 2 sons, 15 and 9, and this relates to the older one. He does pretty well in school, and most of his teachers have nothing but good things to say about him. Apparently, one of his teachers asked him for help catching some kids cheating. The teacher left some fake test answers on his desk and pretended to go to the bathroom. Our son then showed as many people the answers as possible before the teacher came back in. Then he helped the teacher identify who looked at the answers. We only heard about this a couple of weeks after the fact. Apparently, said teacher got into some trouble because more than half your students failing an exam looks bad for you as well as them. It was only then that our son revealed the part he played and that some kids at school are angry at him for helping the teacher. I told him that while kids shouldn't be giving him trouble about that, and I'd help stop it if need be, he shouldn't be surprised. I told him he doesn't always need to suck up to authority, and 5 extra points on the test wasn't worth getting 16 other people in trouble. He argued they got themselves in trouble, but I still said he didn't need to help. I basically explained that to the other kids, including his friends. He's saying that he respects the teacher more than he respects them. Nobody will ever trust him after he lied like that. He thought I'd be proud of him, but not for that. All he did was lie to sell out his friends. My wife's on his side and thinks we should be happy he helped enforce the rules. She argues the kids are solely at fault for looking at the answers, and we should be proud our son helped get some troublemakers in trouble. She also thinks I'm teaching him not to respect authority, and I'm going to make him think breaking the rules is right. Now for some comments. The real bonehead in this story is the teacher. What a terrible position she put your son in. So this terrible teacher enlisted your son to help catch cheaters by having him show them the answers? Hell, she made him a cheater too. I hope she gets fired. I'm going with not the bonehead because of how it was done. Your son should know it's okay to tell an authority figure about anything, but this was entrapment. If the police did what the teacher did, their case would be thrown out of court. Not the bonehead. Totally entrapment, and the teacher was absolutely wrong in getting one student to help set up the others. I'd be talking to the principal. I think you're right here, but it would have been hard for a teenager to stand up to the teacher and say this is wrong. This is a tough lesson. Your wife should be upset with the teacher as well. No. It's not like they were all cheating through a WhatsApp group and he showed it to the prof. That wouldn't be great, but that would be enforcing the rules. They set up a trap. This is sabotage. This is insanely messed up. It's not just that kids who were doing wrong things got busted. It's tempting them and looking to see if they give in to temptation. Any kid that's been completely candid but followed the massive action taken by likely most of the class would be labeled cheater forever and punished. This is not how life works. This is a legit 1500s church-level mess. There's no world in which someone should be proud of that, and I hope the whole story got to the ears of the teacher's superior, because, at least in my country, and I sincerely hope in as many as possible as well, doing stuff like that gets you fired on the spot. I have an older brother. He's married to Sil. I get along with her well, except for this one point. If you don't keep an eye on her, she'll get into the kitchen and add seasonings to whatever is cooking. She thinks she's fixing stuff, but not all foods need turmeric in it. This Saturday, I received 40 pounds of tomatoes. It took me the whole weekend to turn it into a sauce that I was planning to can. I can it plain, then add whatever seasonings and herbs it needs, depending on the recipe. They came to take a bag of spare clothes to one of their kids, and in the 5 minutes it took me to get it, she managed to get into the kitchen, add salt, pepper, turmeric, olive oil, garlic powder, and Italian herbs to all 5 of the pots that were simmering on the stove. And when I asked her what she was doing, she had the audacity to say, "This sauce needed some taste. I added it for you." Like I've never told her not to touch what I was cooking before. I was so angry that I knew I couldn't be calm talking with her. So I simply walked to my brother, told him to take the clothes on his wife, and that she's no longer welcome in my house. She had followed me, was shocked, and started apologizing, but I just ignored her. I added that he should come back tomorrow to take the sauce his wife ruined, because otherwise it would be thrown away, and that I expected 40 pounds of replacement tomatoes. They left. He came back with the tomatoes, an apology letter from her, and an apology carrot cake, my fave. But I told him that I stand by my decision. Now my parents got involved since I'm the one that usually hosts, and since she's not allowed in my house, I told them to make alternate plans for Memorial Day. My husband says that I'm in the right, but my parents say that my reaction is way overblown. So am I the bonehead? Edit. Since there seems to be some confusion, I'm not planning to host for Memorial Day and not invite her. I said I'm not hosting. My parents or my brother should host, and I will attend as a guest. I might be angry, but I don't want her excluded. And now for some comments. If you don't keep an eye on her, she'll get into the kitchen and add seasonings to whatever is cooking. She managed to get into the kitchen, add salt, pepper, turmeric, olive oil, garlic powder, and Italian herbs to all 5 of the pots that were simmering on the stove. Like, WTF? This is so boundary disrespecting, disrespectful, and insulting to what you're cooking. And it wasn't even for her. Not the bonehead for being furious. But I do think she learned her lesson though. So not the bonehead. She's crossing boundaries, poking into something where she doesn't belong. There's all kinds of wrong with messing with someone else's cooking. What if you were making something for someone who's allergic to turmeric? Good on your brother for replacing the tomatoes, and on her for apologizing. That said, You're still in the right for banning her from the house, especially if that has happened multiple times and you've been clear with her that it's not acceptable. If you're thinking about letting her back in, I'd make sure the apology is a real apology first. Not, "I'm sorry if your feelings were hurt," but something which takes responsibility for her actions. "I added seasonings to your giant tomato sauce project without asking. This was way out of line and I shouldn't have done it. It's my fault and I'm sorry. In the future, I'm planning to not enter your kitchen unless invited." Not the bonehead. "I won't be hosting her anymore since clearly she doesn't like my cooking. But I'm sure she and brother will be happy to host since she's so eager to demonstrate her skills in the kitchen." Not the bonehead. "Garlic is alkaline. That would entirely change the processing time to safely can the tomato sauce. She has no idea what she's messing with. The safety of your preserves for the next year. You're entitled to hold to your boundary even after her apology. A cake is a nice gesture, but by no means is it enough to buy your trust back." What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. If you liked this story and you've made it this far, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate you spending your valuable time with me. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next Reddit story.